So Sharpie, a lot of the time people talk about the similarities between the world of mining and the world of elite sport. We've both been in elite sport for a long time and certainly been involved in the mining industry as well. What do you see as being the three key things if you had to just choose three?
Oh, it's a good question, Bo, and it's a well-trodden path for good reason. You know, I think there are a lot of similarities, but for me, the three that really stand out for me is the best teams I managed to play in. We're a team. Their peers held each other to account. That self-regulation was critical because they needed players to put the extra effort in when the coach wasn't watching, when no one else was watching, and that included on the field, off the field, you name it. So that's the first, probably.
I mean, in mining, for example, you're on your own at 2 o'clock in the morning, right?
Yeah.
And that's the whole point.
Yeah.
What's number two?
Number two for me, I think, is about relationships. You know, if you don't have relationships with your team members, it really prevents discretionary effort. And we all know the best teams that everyone's been involved in, it's that discretionary effort to take on the extra 1 or 2% that ordinarily you wouldn't do if you didn't have that connection. You didn't have that, I guess, that understanding between you and I that I'd go that extra mile for you. And I think that similarly breaks down into silos. You know, on a sporting field, if you take rugby, for example, you've got backs and forwards. If there's no communication there, there's no care for each other and what each unit's trying to achieve. So those communication silos for me, you know, we see them all the time in mining environments, and the same in sport. The most successful teams, they break down those silos and they make sure that that communication exists all the time. There's never any doubt as to what each team unit within that wider organisation or team is trying to achieve.
I think the other key point you make there is just a lot of people assume just because you've either been to the Olympics or you've played for the Wallabies that you're 100% motivated to turn up every day. The reality is there are plenty of times when I didn't want to show up, but you do because the people around you, and it's that level, and that's the discretionary effort that you're talking about.
Absolutely.
To go a little bit harder and to be a little more effective, a little safer, keep each other, look after each other. And what's the last one?
Oh, I think for me it's just clarity, pure clarity across the board, and that ties into the first 2 points that we just spoke about. But everyone turns up every day knowing what a win looks like for them, particularly in their individual units and their individual teams, but then for the wider organisation. And that wider organisation focus might be, if you compare it to a sporting context, it might be over the course of a season. But that narrower focus is that game, you know, that 80 minutes or that, 6-minute rowing race that you're in. That's what you need to focus on for the day. So for me, they're the three key things for me, Bo.
So there you have it. There are three key things. Last one was we know what winning looks like. You always know what the score is. There's total clarity around that. The second one was around relationships and how relationships help to build communication, which in turn helps to break down naturally existing silos. And the first one was self-regulation, looking after each other, looking after yourself, not waiting to have to be told everything, taking some initiative and absolutely looking after the team. That's why there are so many similarities between mining and sport, and to develop these to a whole new level, that's why Talisman People exists.